Hello YouTube, I just played a solo queue game on my 200-300 LP master account on eWest, and I ended up playing Jarvan, to many surprise. I don't typically play Jarvan, but the reason why I picked Jarvan is because I was third pick, and I saw that the enemy team consisted of Lulu, Jinx, and Lilia so far. And the three things that are in common for all of those three champions are the fact that they don't have any mobility to escape my ulti. So I pretty much knew that I could play from my bot lane really easily, and I would also be able to lock down Lilia later on in the team fights in case she ended up becoming really strong, and that was the reason why I ended up picking Jarvan. What I wanted to explain in this video is basically how to play these low carry junglers, econ junglers, basically junglers that don't need a lot of gold or experience in order to still be useful just because of their base damage or their base stats or their simple base kit. So, because I wanted to play from my bot lane, I wanted to gank them fairly early. So what I end up doing is I start my red buff and then I path instantly down. So that I can gank them level 2, because Jarvan has the option to gank level 2 with his EQ combo. Now, the first thing we need to take a look at here is, obviously, you need to rely a little bit on your lanes in order to make these level 2 ganks work. First of all, they need preferably some type of ability to be able to follow up or do damage, and then second thing, the wave needs to be in a good state. So I end up typing like, yo, I want to gank bot lane level 2, and then basically what that means is that my bot lane would like the wave to push towards them so that I can come and gank before that these two end up warding, right? So that's exactly what they do. So if we take a look at the wave here, we see that there's only 1 minion left and there's 3 minions here, meaning that the wave is pushing towards my bot lane, which is perfect for me to gank. I was thinking about, do I want to wait for my bot lane to get level 2, but also risk the enemy bot lane getting level 2, and then I see my Soraka simply flashing in, so I decide that no, let's just go all in, and then unfortunately I was not clean enough on Jarvan to do the EQ knock-up, but it doesn't matter because I have red buff and I can constantly slow down the Jinx, and that means that we end up getting first blood. Unfortunately it goes to Soraka, but doesn't really matter too much because Jinx will end up losing this wave and her flash, which means that I can gank again. Here I was trying to look for something on mid lane, which was actually really bad, because the difference between the mid lane gank and the bot lane gank is that here the wave is actually pushing towards the Sylas and our bot lane was pushing towards my bot lane. So I was actually wasting a lot of time here, which was pretty bad from me, because there is simply no way that that gank was gonna work. I then realized that after I left bot lane that my bot lane was shoving in, so I knew that the bot lane was gonna be pushing back in towards my bot lane again, so I wanted to get level 3 really fast and then gank bot lane again, which is what we're gonna see here. Unfortunately my Caitlyn ends up pushing this next wave back in, so instead of ganking bot lane I take the Skull Crab, and then I hope that after this wave crashes that the wave is then gonna push back into my bot lane. But instead what ends up happening is that we're simply gonna dive them, because we see Lilia here on top side, so we know that okay, Jinx doesn't have a flash and they're low HP, so we can simply dive them. So we end up killing the Lulu first, and then we play it really slow, wait for the wave to push in by Caitlyn. I can pretty much just face tank the Jinx damage because it's not that much, and then we dive, leave the kill to our AD carry, and then Jinx is dead and she loses yet another wave. So what to take away from this game is simply, I am playing a jungle champion that doesn't need a lot of resources. I just want to spam gank and get my laners ahead so that hopefully my laners can carry. So Lilia will become quite far ahead in terms of both experience and gold, and she could get further ahead in experience and gold if she actually counter jungle me a bit more. But as you can see right now, I'm on 16 CS and she's at 28 CS. She's level 4 and I'm level 3, but I'm completely okay with that because I know that my bot lane will get really fed, and that their bot lane will be really far behind. In terms of gold, I'm actually ahead because of the ganks that I did so far has been working out. But in terms of experience, I will simply fall behind. Another thing to see here is, again, the wave is gonna be pushing, it will crash. So instead of me going into my topside jungle, sorry, where potentially Lilia could have invaded and taken my topside camps. I instead actually just path instantly back to bot lane because I do have one camp on bot lane that I can take. And on top of that, the wave is gonna simply be pushing back into my bot lane, which is what I want for the gank setup. I actually don't even end up taking the wolf camp. So I end up just hovering here on bot lane. I wanted my Soraka to path through river, but I think I got spotted by this control ward right here. Yeah, I did get spotted by the controller, so the enemy bot lane actually knew that I was there, so it's actually wasting some time. But if there wasn't a ward in this bush and they didn't see me, then I could simply sit here. Soraka could walk past the control ward just to pretend that she was gonna go to lane. If the enemy bot lane then tries to step up to do damage to her around here in this area, well, then I can go from the bush and collapse on them because they still don't have flash on their AD carry. But unfortunately it doesn't work out and the bot lane ends up pushing the wave in, meaning that we can't quite kill them. So because of me not realizing there was a control ward in Pixel Bush, this gank ends up failing. Otherwise I actually believe that this gank could also have worked. So I then take my Grump and then I actually... What do I end up doing here? I think I just take the Scuttle Crab. Yeah, I'll take the Scuttle Crab. Still looking at lanes to gank. End up walking behind because I see enemy bot lane is really low, so I'm just gonna set up for a dive. We kill the Jinx, ends up being a trade. And then I simply, once again, just hold the wave to make sure that we can dive with a minion wave. I then end up seeing the Sylas, so I decide to back off. I then realize that I can't back off, so I'll just go all in for the Lulu. End up killing the Lulu. Kaden heals me. But unfortunately I end up dying. And we can't trade the kill back onto the Sylas. So the reason why Sylas ends up being able to get this play off is simply because our mid laner did not have prior push fast enough. Otherwise, a really good thing to do when you are playing these champions that really like to tower dive, or you want to have some vision on where is the enemy jungler and does the enemy mid laner potentially have the ability to roam down. So for the jungle you would like to have some vision around here, just to see if the enemy jungler is here. Otherwise you'd like to have vision on the most common points where the enemy can rotate through, which would be mid lane and jungle, so that by the time you're about to dive then you can see, okay, they're already rotating, let's then back off if we can't do it fast enough. So yeah, that ended up happening. And then we respawn. My bot lane ends up collapsing here on top because they're taking my red buff and they get a kill. Good job from my team. And then here, I'm a little bit early for this play because our AD carry is not here. That's the reason why I don't want to go in, because I'm not confident enough to take a 2v2, because even though I am a little bit strong, I don't think I have enough burst damage to kill the Jinx, especially through Lulu. So I'd actually much rather have my AD carry get back to lane. Really good freeze here by my Soraka, holding the wave in the same spot. And then I'm just sitting here waiting, probably waiting a little bit too long. But I then realized that, okay, the enemy bot lane is not going to step up. Let's just take the Drake. So we then take this Drake. I get level 6, so here I'm looking for another play. And here we know that Lulu now doesn't have flash because of the last time, because of what happened. So we would like to focus the Lulu. And very recently, I saw a video on Codes Unlimited where he was coaching a 500 LP Kha'Zix player. And what Codes Unlimited have basically been teaching me is that whenever you have a numbers advantage, you should always dive. So if I kill the Jinx and I end up dying, or Soraka dies and Jinx dies, it's still worth because their carry doesn't get any resources and they end up losing a full minion wave. But here's a 4v2, so of course we're going to dive, but even 3v2, if played correctly, trading 1 for 1 can still be good as long as we just kill the Jinx and make sure that she loses the wave. Another thing to note here is the fact that the enemy jungler is now going to get the Rift Herald, which typically is pretty bad. But the reason why it's not too bad in this game is simply because that we're gonna get first tower before the enemy team can get anything, because we still have 5 platings on all our towers. So Now we got the bot side objective, we got the first tower, everything is really, really good. Now what ideally would be happening is that my bot lane would simply recall and roll swap into either top lane or mid lane to get more plates. The reason why it doesn't end up working out is because Caitlyn ends up overextending for a very long time because she wants her Gale Force item. And she ends up actually greeting for an additional wave while our... Here I just forced the Jinx Flash. What ends up happening is she greets for too many waves. As you can see, she's still here. She should have reset. And then she wants to greet for this wave as well, but she realizes that she can't get it. She sells her Doran's blade, and then she gets the Gale Force. Vex then says that Vex wants to side lane, so that we should just go mid lane, which is also completely fine. We just want to get more plates. And here, once again, I'm basically just following my strong Caitlyn to make sure that she can stay safe. So I don't want to walk all the way up to my Crux up here. I don't want to walk all the way to Grump, because I want to stay somewhat close to mid lane. So in case the enemy decides to collapse from any way, then I am simply here to also go in and help my bot lane out. So and that's exactly what ends up happening. I then peel for my AD carry, making sure that Lilia can't go onto Caitlyn. Silas then wants to jump into my ult, which we definitely also take. And then we get almost 3 kills, but Lulu lives on 1 HP. But we heavily win the fight. And now I can kind of do whatever I want. If I want to take a jungle camp far away, I can. Simply because now I don't need to cover for my bot lane, because we just killed the enemy. So there's nothing to be afraid of. So that's why I'm no longer covering mid now. Now, if the timer would be a little bit less than 13 minutes, we could have roll swapped our bot lane into top lane to get more platings. But because there's only 1 minute left to get platings and there's a minute to get until Drake spawns, we decided that we already have 1 Drake and we got plenty enough of platings. So we don't need additional platings. We just want to stack Drakes now in case we end up going to late game. Because we don't have the strongest late game team comp with Caitlyn and Jarvan. So that's why we don't end up roll swapping to, or end up playing for top lane here. So we then play for the Drake, we end up securing it, and then once again, back to covering mid lane, because that's where my bot lane is. Unfortunately, I don't have ulti just yet, but now I'll have my ult and I'll just instantly use it here, just to secure another kill. Then we end up getting another 4 for 1, and now we have the ability to push even more. So that's what we end up doing. And then here we are just supposed to back off. Here I do a really bad recall. I recall in a really bad spot. They have vision on me and I had sweeper. I didn't use it and end up getting caught. So yeah, that's just a really stupid mistake from me. But doesn't change too much, but could definitely have been easily avoided. And then yeah, pretty much at this point, as long as we don't make too many mistakes as a team, then we will basically end up winning the game. Here I just instantly force again, because I have ulti. I get a Lulu kill and I get Jinx's flash, and then I go to Rift Herald. The only reason why I went for that play first is because I had ulti. If I didn't have ulti, I probably wouldn't be looking for a kill, but because I have ult, I pretty much know that it's a guaranteed flash every single time on their bot lane, and if they don't have flash, then it's pretty much a guaranteed kill as long as I have someone to be able to follow up on my ulti. Then we take the Rift Herald. I then decide that because my teammates are dying here on bot side, which is also quite bad, that I'm simply gonna help my Vex out and push. So we get a tier 2 tower, and then we get Rift Herald proc on tier 3. And now you see that the gold lead is still going towards our favor. It's 9k now. And then we just saw Jinx flash. I have ulti again. Instantly I'm going to force. And now we're gonna base. Arguably not the best play to go for, because now I don't have ulti for a potential Drake fight. So this is kinda a bit risky ulti to do, because in case a 5v5 fight happens on Drake, I'm significantly weaker not having ulti for the Drake fight, because I used it on top lane. But I simply assumed that we would be able to get the Drake anyway, because we're this far ahead. But you have to be a little bit careful with using your summoner spells and ultis and strong engages whenever you don't have, you won't have them up again before the next objective spawn. Things actually ended up raid squatting. I didn't even realize that. I think she will come back though. Then yeah, here's the fight. Unfortunately, I don't have ulti, but we end up winning it anyway. Oh, Jinx does these seeds. She didn't raid squat. And then I'll have my ulti up right now. I get a 2-man ulti. We win. We get the Drake. Actually, we push first. Take tier 3 tower top, take tier 3 tower mid. And we go to Drake. Or meanwhile, our team took Drake. And then here, I decide that the next team fight could basically be GG. So I decide to go for stopwatch. Which means that I can go pretty much as deep into the enemy team as I want to, as long as people are capable of following up. Or I can at least buy 2.5 seconds extra time for my team to be able to follow up. And then a tip for Jarvan, this also goes for Sensei actually. Most people would go for Guardian Angel, but it's actually a lot better for you to go Sonya's Hourglass, because both of them have AP scaling, and the item itself is just simply better. Because GA has a 5-minute cooldown, and Sonya's Hourglass only has 2 minutes. And with Cosmic Insight it's even lower, which simply means that you can get access to going deep again much more often when you have Sonya's Hourglass compared to when you have GA. But of course you need some type of either AP ratios or a good enough reasoning for why you would go Hourglass, because the AP value of it is not all that good. We end up getting the Baron, and then here I wasn't really too sure. My initial thought would be that we should go bot lane so that we could be here in this area, so we could quickly get to the Drake. But what ends up happening instead, which now that I think back is actually also quite smart, is we take the top inhib and mid inhib with the Baron, and then we will have constant pressure on top and mid lane, meaning that the enemy team, if they end up going here, then we'll simply just let the minions push into their base from mid and top lane, and then we can just back off and stall and buy some time. So here, I wasn't really too sure which decision to go through, or to go for. Was it get the last bot lane tower, or was it to get the mid and top inhib? And thinking back, I actually think going for top and mid inhib was the actual correct call, even though initially I wanted to go bot lane. But when I saw my team grouping up mid, then I was like, yeah, I mean, I have to stay with my AD carry and my Vex to protect them and engage for them and peel for them. So better to just follow the team, and actually the team actually made a really good call here in this situation. So we get the mid inhib, get the top inhib, then we push a little bit here, and then the last fight I end up doing a not so good ulti, but it ends up working out anyway, and we end up winning. Then we get the bot tower, bot inhib, now we have triple inhib, and the game is basically just over. We do a little bit of Fiesta fight, but it's enough for us to win because we're just that far ahead, so ending up being 15k gold ahead at 25 minutes. So that's basically what you want to do when you are playing a jungler that doesn't really carry himself. Typically these will be for tank junglers, early game junglers, bruiser junglers, that you simply give as many resources as possible towards whatever lane is the easiest for you to gank, and then you basically hover for them and cover for them, rather than you taking a random jungle camp here or a random jungle camp there. You basically just play for one lane rather than for yourself, and then you basically hope that they carry you. And in this case it ended up planning out, so that's basically the video. So a lot of junglers simply think that jungle just comes down to jungle pathing, when to invade and how to gank, and then being able to smite the objectives. But there's actually much more to it. There's diving, there is covering for your teammates, there's hovering for them, and simply being less selfish and simply being able to give a lot of resources towards your teammates, which for some champions is really, really relevant, and for some games specifically, and for other champions or other games is not relevant. But very commonly I will see people never being able to play this playstyle because either they don't know or they haven't like enough experience on it to pull it off. But it's quite important to know if you are a jungler to be able to have some of these type of games, because if I also went for a carry jungler and let's say my bot lane ended up losing and I ended up losing, well, it doesn't really matter if we have carry champions if none of them are actually carrying the game. You need to have a good variety of carrying champions and peeling champions, champions that need resources and champions that are willing to give resources to teammates. But that was basically the video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like. If you have any questions or things that didn't make sense from this video, then leave it in the comment section down below. And then always subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And then I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.